Alright, welcome to another video of Bryan's Basement. Today we're going to be talking about Ninja Warriors for the Super Nintendo and Ninja Saviors Return of the Warriors for the Nintendo Switch. These games are really great, but before we get into these two, I want to discuss the history of the game. Well, not really the history, but the predecessor to the game and just some neat facts that I thought were cool. So, as some of you may know, Ninja Warriors is actually a sequel to an arcade game that came out in 1987. It was developed by Taito. It has the same name, the Ninja Warriors. Neat thing about it is it had a 3-screen display that would give you kind of like a gallery view, I guess. It was one CRT screen surrounded by 2 projection screens. Gave you image of a big screen, which probably would have been pretty cool for the time playing a beat 'em up. It would have made it feel, you know, pretty expansive, giving you a nice like widescreen view. So I imagine the cabinet's pretty massive. I've never actually seen one. The only thing I've seen about it is I was like, oh, after I heard about the game and played Ninja Saviors, really enjoyed it, I was like, I wonder how much this arcade is, and looked it up on eBay and saw somebody selling it for like $8,000. It's like, okay, expensive, but arcades on eBay are usually overpriced. So anyway, getting back to the discussion. Okay, so getting back to the discussion of the game. The arcade game, that is. I've never played the arcade game, and I've never actually seen it. I know that there's some ports. I know it was ported to a couple of the older 8-bit machines, like the ZX Spectrum and the Commodore 64. I believe it was also ported to the Amiga, and it was also ported to the Mega CD. Those 2 last versions seem pretty interesting to me, so I would like to check those out at some point and maybe see what they're all about. Maybe release a subsequent video. I don't actually have any information on them now, or really I haven't even looked into them at all. So at this point I'm just going to kind of focus on the 1994 release and the 2018 release for the rest of the video. So moving forward, I'll give you my thoughts on Ninja Warriors, and then we'll kind of go into a comparison between the Switch and the SNES version, and then I'll kind of do a little unboxing for you of the contents of the Switch, and then from there we'll go into a screen capture and maybe just a little narration. I have a side-by-side video. On one side is the Super Nintendo being played on a framemiester that's been screen capped in 1080p, and on the other side is the Switch version in 1080p. So you'll kind of get an idea of how they stack up next to each other, but that's not till the end. So stay tuned and let's get into it. So moving forward, the review. I think pretty highly of this game, as you guys can probably tell already. Giving you a little bit of background, I'm not like an old school fan of this game. Actually, I'll be the first one to admit I picked this up probably about a year ago, so I didn't even get it. Probably a little over a year ago at this point, probably somewhere in 2020, I'd say. So I wasn't even on the ground floor with the release for this game, but I still was excited about it. I had heard about it somewhere. It looked cool, thought it was right up my alley. Picked it up, never played it. One of my friends came by over the past weekend, and we grabbed a bunch of 2-player Switch games and just went through them all. And, you know, there were some duds, but this ended up being one that we both really enjoyed. And it kind of sent me down the rabbit hole of looking into the Super Nintendo version and wanting to learn more about that. Funny story, when I picked up the Super Nintendo version, I only picked it up about a week ago. I went into one of my local game stores and they had it. It wasn't cheap, but it's cool. I thought when I was picking it up, I hadn't done any research. I thought that this was like the second version of the game, and maybe this was like a newer version, like a third version of the game. But as I started to play them more, I kind of realized that this is a remaster, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's a great remaster. But I mean, that was just a little bit of a folly on my part, just reading the years and kind of making assumptions. But anyway, I digress. Back to my thoughts on the game. So first impressions, when I was playing with my friend, we got that intro with the story about the rebels and Bangalore and just the shots of the dystopic future and the, you know, quick cutaways of the robots. It's just it just captivated us from the minute it came on, and we were like, what is this? And, you know, it just, after playing a few levels and just, you know, getting a feel for the game, it was just a lot of fun. I mean, it's a really fantastic game. It's one of those games that, you know, makes me realize why I play video games. It reminded me of being a kid and playing like Turtles in Time or Double Dragon, just that similar kind of vibe. So for that reason, the nostalgia factor puts it off the chart for me. So that's why it was important for me to pick up the Super Nintendo copy and kind of experience that, because being a collector and a historian, I like to kind of compare those things, and it was just this one was kind of off my radar. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, until last week I didn't even really know about this game, so it's kind of a shame, but at least I was able to play this version and kind of discover this for the first time. So just moving forward, you know, as a review, I think that the game itself has some really interesting mechanics. The 3 playable characters are really great. I think that Ninja, the giant ninja, is really fun with the boosters. Kunoichi is really cool with her, you know, kunai daggers, and she's got a lot of, you know, once you get into her move style, I think that she's a really, really fun character to play. And then Kitachi, I think is his name. I keep forgetting. Kamitachi is his name. Kamitachi, initially my favorite character, and then as I played the game more and I got less button mashy, I think it kind of equaled out. So initially, him all the way with the blade arms and stuff. But as I got more experience with the game, I don't know. I think my preference base is probably based more on the boss that I'm fighting and the challenge that I'm facing, which I think speaks to how dynamic of a game it is. I think it's just a lot of fun that, you know, you can find those little nuances when you're playing it. So, you know, all in all, if you're a fan of beat 'em ups and you haven't played this and you're interested, I'd highly recommend it. Major retailers, it's still available. It's a price of a normal new Switch game for, you know, $39.99, so it's not really too steep, and I think it's a lot. They're giving you a lot of bang for your buck here. Segueing from my gushing about this game, I'm sure there will be more to come, just about some differences between the two titles. The Switch, the biggest difference I think is that the Switch has 2-player, which really adds to the experience when you're playing with a friend. It's just your classic beat 'em up action. Don't get me wrong, this is still great 1-player. It's fantastic. When I'm playing 1-player, it's definitely a toss-up as to which one is the superior version, but I think that there are a couple of factors that kind of tip the odds in the Switch's favor. One of them being the 2-player, another one being the fact that, you know, with the Super Nintendo being from 1991, and it's a great piece of hardware, don't get me wrong, there are some limitations of being an older console. One of them being sprite size. The sprites for the bosses are nominally bigger than you. Not much, just a tiny bit. Whereas in Switch, you've got a lot more processing power with that chip, the Tegra chip. So they really ramped up the animation on the bosses. The bosses are like that. The first boss is huge, and he seems like he takes more damage, and it's just they definitely revamped the bosses a little bit. They seem a little different. They have sometimes seem to use different moves, so I think that's kind of cool about the Switch, especially if it's like you're somebody who is a fan of the series and has really liked it, really known this game well. Coming into this, I think you still get some new features and some fresh takes on the game that maybe you weren't expecting. So another great thing about the Switch. Another thing that I've noticed, just a small thing, is comparing like the outfits of the soldiers. The soldiers have like bright color outfits in the Super Nintendo, and they have like olive drab and khaki in the Switch, which I just felt like it was a little bit more appropriate. So I mean, you know, nothing too groundbreaking there, but it was just something that I thought was interesting, and I thought, you know, that it was cool that they are just a little bit more attention to detail, a little bit more polish. You know, it's good. Taito still, you know, has their roots in mind. They didn't want to change the whole game and give you something new. They are giving you the core game with some really tasteful enhancements. Another great thing is the music for both games. Some of these songs, when I play them, I just hear, one of them is stuck in my head. I'm gonna save you guys and not sing it out loud, because I'm definitely like tone deaf, and you probably won't even hear what I'm trying to hum. But you know, there will be some of the game music in the screen cap, so just keep an ear out. I'm sure you'll be tapping your foot if you're into chip tunes and stuff and the like. So it's I think just all in all, it's a really great beat 'em up any way you decide to play it, Switch or Super Nintendo. Now I will say the Super Nintendo copy is a little cost prohibitive. It's definitely an expensive cartridge, even more if you're trying to go for the complete. I couldn't do that. But this, like I said, just you know, just standard price for a new video game, even cheaper than like a new game. So $40, $39.99, and I don't know, maybe there's a price break on the online that you could look into, or possibly getting it used. I'm not sure, but I don't think this game is really it's not out of print, and I don't think it's going anywhere. So if you're interested, check it out. Going into another thing that I really like about the game is just the presentation. They give you a lot of cool stuff. So you get a manual, which, I mean, today, when was the last time you got a manual? If it wasn't like from just a normal game you would go and buy, that's not like limited run or indie or something like that. So the manual's got the backstory about Bangalore that you see in the beginning of the game. It's got some information on the interface and some tutorials on the basic moves. Then you've got all the 5 characters and their move sets, and so there's a cool little picture of each character and then a page for each of their moves, and there you go, and that's the manual. So, you know, nothing too superfluous, but it definitely gets the job done, and it would save you from looking at the internet to get any of that information. So hey, I'm all for it. I love manuals. I love having a little piece of paper to flip through and just look at, and you know, just extra stuff to sink your teeth into for the game. So you also get some stickers, just neat little stickers, and then you also get a poster. Let's open this up. Cool poster. Very cool poster. And lastly, you get 2 cards with the 2. I have the 2 unlockable characters on them. I'm not sure if maybe there was different cards. Does it say anything on the back? No. Oh. I mean, this one says card 2. This one says card 1. So I don't know. Maybe there's a card 3, card 4, and a card 5. I don't know. I have no clue. So, but I just think it's cool. You don't get stuff with your games anymore. It's usually just a disc or a Switch cartridge. So it's a nice change, nice breath of fresh air to actually get something useful and cool with your games. So I like it for that reason. So I am going to just go on record here and highly recommend the Switch version. I think it's very accessible. I think that it really opens the game up to be able to just be played. Another, just to elaborate on that statement, why I think that the Switch gives you checkpoints. So when you die, you can make it to checkpoints. It makes it easier to work your way through the game. I basically made it to the second to last boss in about 2 hours. And this was, you know, the first time where I actually like played by myself and tried to beat it. So that was my first time, and I got really far. Thought I was gonna beat it, but just lost steam at the end. So I'll have to go back. But you can do level select with the Switch version. It gives you time attack, so it'll tell you how fast you beat each level, so you can kind of compete against yourself. So, you know, there's some just neat little features that you get with this one that really, I think, adds to the replayability and just makes it a really good remaster. So I think that this is just I'd give this one, you know, I'm not gonna sit here and start to rate games, but I would recommend this one. So this one's recommended for me, and if you like beat 'em ups, just go ahead and check it out. So coming up next, we're gonna go and compare the screen capture. So on one side, I will have the framemiester Super Nintendo, so it'll be scaled up to 1080p, and then on the other side, we will have Switch. Keep in mind, Super Nintendo on the framemeister is kind of, you know, it's in a 4:3 screen, so the screen for the Super Nintendo is a little bit smaller, but you'll be able to compare. And then halfway through, not halfway through, about 30 seconds, 40 seconds into the video, I switch the music, so you can actually hear the music change. And yeah, I just thought it was I mean, it's either way you're getting great music, but it's nice to know that they took the if it ain't broke, don't fix it approach, which I can appreciate. So stay tuned for the screen caps, and pop back in afterwards. And yeah, thank you. Alright everyone, so welcome to the screen cap. Just I'm gonna do a little bit of a voiceover here to kind of discuss some of the points that I was hitting in the video. This intro is fantastic. I love this story. real good music right here. So we're about to get into the comparison. We'll have Switch on the right and Super Nintendo on the left. I got them labeled. I just shrink the screens down by 50% size, just so everything still looked proportional. The Super Nintendo is running framemiester, and you can see the Super Nintendo kind of looks a little bit brighter, but there is definitely a lot more going on with that Switch. Also, I'm sorry about the sound. I didn't realize when I was recording it there must be a delay between my capture device and the framemeister. When I was playing it, it sounded fine. So it's really cool how everything still looks, you know, almost the same. One thing that's also neat about this part is you can kind of knock enemies into those energy conduits, and you can do extra damage to them. I thought those guys kind of looked a little like Freddy Krueger, kind of, but they don't really look like Freddy Krueger. They just got claws. As you can see from what I was saying earlier, the bright colors on the Super Nintendo compared to the, you know, more standard military uniform colors. This part kind of annoyed me the first time I played it. Started to get the hang of it, but I'm always getting hit by this. Getting hit by this mortars getting dropped in. So we're almost to the boss, and as you can see, Super Nintendo still looks great, but you know, Super Nintendo for sure. I mean, it's a nice looking boss, but he's in Switch. He's really, really big. So I mean, it's cool that they took special care to, you know, spruce everything up a little bit. And I'm gonna stop the video because I don't beat it and I have to retry, so it's just gonna take some time. So yeah, that's kind of it for the screen cap. We'll come back in. All right, so what did you think? I found it pretty interesting. I think the videos side by side are pretty cool. You know, the Nintendo Switch, it's just a really tasteful remaster. They've really added a lot to the backgrounds. There's just a lot of subtle additions. You know, bosses are a bit more detailed. But the Super Nintendo still stacks up great, you know. And just, one thing I really wanted to point out, probably my main reason for coming back in, is just if you notice the music transition, I noted it with in the bottom right corner, so you can kind of see when it's switching, and it's a little bit of a crossfade effect. So it's kind of, it's not too abrupt, but I was going on about like Freddy Krueger in the video, so I kind of missed that part. But I just wanted to touch on the fact that the music is very it also stays true to the original, and I just really enjoy that. So, you know, great game. Check it out, anybody who's interested, and thanks for watching, and I'll be back with another video. This time it should be a little bit quicker. So, thanks.